Live in TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Hey, it's Brian Manning, and I'm a political asylum lawyer. My law firm is based in Houston, Texas, but we help people all over the country. We've got clients everywhere. So if you need help with your asylum case, or you're thinking about applying for asylum, give us a call, okay? We help people all over the country to secure their future in the United States through asylum. So I'm going to take your questions today, and I'm going to answer your asylum questions. So go ahead and leave them in the chat, in the comments, on TikTok and on Facebook and YouTube. And I'll get to your questions in just a second. Go ahead and leave them. Don't have to wait. Go ahead and start. But I'm going to say just a couple of words before we get to all of your questions, okay? So some statistics came out recently that made me scratch my head and made me think, gee, immigration judges kind of think that asylum officers are kind of morons. Now, remember this. There's kind of two different worlds for asylum, right? If you came to the United States without a visa and you applied for asylum, like when you came to the border, then you're going to be in defensive asylum proceedings in immigration court, and you're asking the judge, an immigration judge, to give you asylum. If you came on a visa, usually you're applying affirmatively, meaning you send your application to USCIS, and an asylum officer is going to interview you and make a decision in your case. That's what I used to be. I was an asylum officer at the Houston Asylum Office, okay? So two different worlds. There's immigration judges that decide, and there's asylum officers. Well, asylum officers, when they make their decision, if it's a negative decision, and at that time when they make that negative decision, the applicant, you, doesn't any longer have legal status. Like say you came on a tourist visa or a student visa, but now that's over. That status ended. And then you get a negative asylum decision from the asylum officer. What happens next? Well, you get put in deportation proceedings. They send your case to the immigration court, and the government's trying to deport you. But there you get to basically renew your asylum application, or it's kind of like an appeal, right? You get to present your case anew before the judge, and the judge decides whether you get asylum or an order of deportation. And what we see from recent statistics is that asylum officers and judges feel very differently about asylum cases. So it used to be the case that approval rates were higher at the asylum office and lower in immigration court, but that's changed over the last couple of years. And now immigration judges approve more asylum cases proportionately than do asylum officers. But here's what's really interesting to me is that, oh, hey, good to see you too. Thanks for the comment. We have seen that recently immigration judges have been basically overruling asylum officers like crazy. In like 67% of cases that were sent from the asylum office to the immigration courts, the immigration judge said, no, asylum office, you are wrong. This person does qualify for asylum. Asylum approved, okay? So of all the cases where the asylum officer said, nope, don't qualify, go to immigration court, of all those cases, in 67% of them, the immigration judge said, no, wait, you do qualify. You do meet the qualifications for asylum, so you get asylum. Here you go. Basically overruling the asylum officers in 67% of the cases that were sent from the asylum office to the immigration court, okay? That's a stunningly high number, in my opinion. It means that immigration judges think that asylum officers just get it wrong, basically, okay? Let me tell you, though, the numbers are even higher and more surprising for people from a handful of countries where immigration judges just do not see eye to eye at all with asylum officers. So people from Cameroon, of all the cases that are sent from the asylum office where they get a negative decision over to the immigration court, 80% of those cases end up getting approved by the immigration judge, despite that the asylum officer said, no, not eligible. That's from Cameroon, 80%. From China, it's a little bit higher. 82% of Chinese cases sent from the asylum office to the immigration court end up getting approved by the judge, despite that the asylum office decided they're not eligible for asylum. 82% for China. For Ethiopia, it's a little bit higher at 85%. Now listen to this one. For Eritrea, it's 97%, okay? 97% of cases from Eritrea that are sent from the asylum office over to the immigration court end up getting approved. That means in almost all of the cases from Eritrea, the judge says, what are you talking about, asylum office? How did you not find this person eligible for asylum? Okay. Now, I just posted a video a couple days ago to YouTube about this topic. Okay, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts about like why this is happening, go to my YouTube channel. It's Manning Asylum Law. If you go into YouTube, just search for Manning Asylum Law, you'll find my YouTube channel where I just posted a video a couple days ago about this topic. So you can find more details and my thoughts on like what's going on here and why it's happening. But for today's purposes, before we jump over to your questions, let me just conclude my remarks by saying, listen, you might still get approved by the immigration court, even if you've got a negative decision from the asylum office. It's not the end of the world. Okay. We know now that immigration judges are approving a lot more cases than asylum officers are. So I know that it's very difficult. It's very frustrating. It's scary, to be honest with you. It's scary when you get sent from immigration from USCIS over to immigration court. That's scary because you are one step closer to possibly being deported. So I get that that's very unsettling. But the good news is this: take heart. Okay, take heart, knowing that it's not over. Okay, you still have a chance. In fact, you have a better chance because immigration judges are approving more people. Bottom line. Okay, so that's good news. All right. Okay, let's get to some questions. Uri Adi says, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, as does Bonnie. Hello, sir. Hello. Thanks for watching. Okay, I'm on YouTube right now. Leave your questions on TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and I'll get to your questions, okay? So on YouTube, we've got a question from Antaru who says, can immigrant married without seeking asylum? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can an immigrant married without seeking? Can you get married without seeking asylum? Yes. I'm not sure. Antaru, leave a follow up. So give me something more to go on. Okay, I didn't get that. Let me know. Restate that in other words. Okay. Okay. Anne says, please, how will you know what like your chances are in winning your case? Well, I mean, you don't know for sure what your case is. You don't know what your chances are, right? I mean, if you talk to an asylum lawyer like me, if you call my law firm and we do what's called an asylum strategy session where I talk to you about your case, I ask you questions, I have you explain yourself, I ask you questions, I will then tell you what I think your chances for success are. Okay. I'll at least tell you low, medium, or high. It's hard to put a precise number on it, right? But I'll give you my best sense for what I think. And that's based on my experience as a former government asylum officer and also now as an asylum lawyer. So I'll give you my best estimation, my sense for your chances. But like broadly, statistically speaking, for the whole universe of asylum applicants, the approval rates last year at the asylum office were low. They were 28% of cases were approved. Okay. It was a little bit higher in immigration court. I think it was like 36% or 38%. So still well below 50%, but quite a bit higher than the asylum office. Okay. But if you want to call my office and schedule a time to talk with me or one of our other asylum lawyers about your case, then we can tell you, what we think about your chances. Okay. On YouTube and Facebook, you're going to see at the bottom of the screen my telephone number, and actually it's above my head as well. On TikTok, it's 713-909-0401. Again, 713-909-0401. If you want to call us and set up a consultation where we can talk in detail about your situation. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the questions. Let's take one from TikTok. Okay. So on TikTok, we've got a question from Jorge that says, it's hard to see. Already applied. Can I still hire a lawyer? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So whether your case is with the asylum office or immigration court and you already applied for asylum, that's okay. It doesn't, you can still hire a lawyer. It's not too late. Okay. It's not too late for you to hire one, and it's not too late for the lawyer to actually help you. So we do this all the time. We have a lot of clients who applied for asylum on their own, or maybe with the help of a notario or form filler, or a paralegal, as they call them, basically a non-lawyer, or even another lawyer. But then the person realizes, you know what, I need more help. I need different help. I need expert help. then they come to us and they hire us and we help them from there on out. And yeah, there's still a lot that we can do. Okay. So even if you already applied, I promise you there's a lot that we can still do to strengthen your case. All right. We're going to submit what I call a supplemental filing to the court or to the immigration office, the asylum office, where we basically set out the roadmap for your case on paper. Okay. Where we show the judge or the officer exactly how to get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. Because that's one of our goals, right? In working together is we want to make the decision maker's life as easy as possible. Okay. We want to show them how to get to the answer yes in your case. Okay. So that's one of the things that we do. And then we do preparation, a mock interview or mock trial where we practice, okay, a lot, everything that you're going to experience on the day of your interview or your court hearing, okay? And then we represent you. And those three things can be huge, okay? Zaslany Kazachuk. What does that mean? That's Russian, right? What does that mean? Why? Because it's job and money for attorneys and judges. That's why they make them busy. What do you mean by that? Not sure what you mean. Give me some follow-up there. All right, let's go back up and get some more questions and answers. Let's see. We've got all right, so let's go back to Ori, who said hello to us earlier on YouTube. Ori says, what can I do? I have my master done virtually, but my lawyer, but no date for individual hearings since 2021. What would your advice be? File a motion to advance, or what other options, please? Yeah, I mean, you can do a motion to advance. That's basically, for those of you who don't know, that's basically where you're just asking the judge, like, hey, can we go ahead and schedule my individual hearing? That's the one where you actually explain your case and fight your case, and the judge usually makes a decision right then and there on that day of that individual hearing. Sometimes you'll hear that called a merits hearing, okay? So yeah, to answer your question, that's really what you could do. If there's some kind of emergency circumstance, that can help strengthen that motion, okay? Like if you are having, like if you're depressed maybe, and one of the reasons is the uncertainty surrounding your situation, your immigration situation, having to deal with not knowing what's going to happen, whether you might end up being, deported or not able to stay. If you have a mental health professional, like a psychiatrist, a counselor, a therapist, who can write you a letter that says that, like, listen, this person is struggling from depression, and I think one of the reasons is, this uncertainty about their immigration situation. I think that if they got this behind them, that would be good for their health. Well, that can help convince the judge that they should give you a sooner hearing date, okay? And it's the same for the asylum office. When I'm talking about the judge, I'm talking about immigration court, right? But at the asylum office, if you're waiting for your interview, you can seek to expedite your case and get your interview scheduled on the same grounds, basically, okay? So, Uri, let me say one more thing. Your lawyer may be able to reach out to other immigration lawyers that they know that have cases at the same court where your case is pending, and ask if anyone has a client who would like to, no, never mind. You don't have a hearing at all. If you had a hearing date that was scheduled way in the future and you wanted to have it sooner, you can swap dates sometimes with people. So immigration lawyers can help sort that out. But in your case, Ori, if you don't have it scheduled, that doesn't really help you. So yeah, really the motion to advance is probably the only thing that I can think of. All right. So Bonnie Kaur says, sir, how can I contact you? So on YouTube, you're watching YouTube, right? So on YouTube at the top of the screen, you can see my phone number, 713-909-0401. Okay. Give us a call and just tell the receptionist that you want to schedule a strategy session where you can talk with me or one of our other asylum lawyers about your situation. So we'll set up an appointment to do that. Okay. Let's see. We've got a question from Petrie who says, hello, Brian. Good afternoon. How long does it take after a master hearing to get to the final hearing? So remember, in immigration court, there's usually two hearings, this master hearing, or sometimes you'll hear it called a master calendar hearing. And the other one that I was explaining earlier is the individual hearing. So the question here is how long between those two things? There's no way to tell, Petrie. I'm really sorry about that. Sometimes it's a matter of a couple months. Sometimes it's a matter of a couple years or a few years. All it depends on, what matters is the judge's individual schedule. The judge that you're assigned to, like, they have a calendar, during your master calendar hearing, usually they literally pull up on their calendar on their computer and go, okay, with their clerk or their scheduler, okay, when's the next time that we have an open date that is slotted or reserved for an individual hearing? And they'll put you into it. And that may be 2 months from now, or it may be 2 years from now or more. So the answer to your question is, like, how long does it take? There's no way to predict that, unfortunately. It's just a matter of your judge's availability. But the good news is that, at least that, if you have a master hearing coming up, you'll probably find out at that hearing what the date's going to be for your individual hearing. Okay. So, all right. Pending affirmative asylum case, what's faster to apply for your EAD, online or by mail? So EAD stands for Employment Authorization Document. That, in other words, that's a work permit, because as most of you probably know, when you apply for asylum, whether affirmatively with USCIS or defensively in immigration court, you are eligible to apply for a work permit on the basis of your pending asylum case 150 days after you've submitted your application, your asylum application. 150 days later, you can apply for your work permit, also known as an EAD. And the question is, what's faster? Do it by mail or online? Well, the ability to do it online is new. It's only been around for a few weeks. So I don't know the answer to your question. We've been doing them at my law firm. We've been doing them online for our clients for the last few weeks since it became available to do it online. And I don't know we haven't gotten the decisions yet, but it's just the last few weeks that we've been doing it. So I think it's probably faster to do it online. We're going to find out. I recommend doing it online. In general, applying for stuff online with USCIS usually makes it go faster than applying by mail. I imagine that work permits will be the same way. For a long time, it's been possible to apply for work permits online through USCIS for other eligibility categories, meaning like not based on asylum pending, but based on other stuff like, your marriage to a U.S. citizen that is in process. But the ability to do it for asylum seekers is new. But yeah, I think it's going to be, I assume it's going to be faster, and I do recommend that you do it online. Okay. And for those of you that are not yet applied for asylum, you should apply online. If you are not in immigration court proceedings and you're going to apply with USCIS, you should apply online with USCIS and not by paper filing. It's much faster. We just got a receipt notice a few days ago for a case that, long story, but we had to apply by mail, by paper mail with USCIS. And because there's a few certain circumstances under which you can't do it online, you have to do it by mail. And this was one of them. So we applied by mail, and it took 7 months to get the receipt notice. That's delaying things by 7 months. As where if you apply online for asylum with USCIS, it takes usually the same day or the next day, you get the receipt notice saying, okay, we've received the application, it's pending as of X date, and it just moves your whole case forward much faster. So apply online for asylum, all right, with USCIS. Let's go to TikTok. What are the asylum interview wait times? Good question. So all of you know people, get rid of this. All of you know people who have been waiting for years for their asylum interview, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. If you apply now for asylum, you're probably not going to have to wait that long, okay? Because a couple of years ago, or a few years ago now, USCIS changed the policy by which they schedule interviews. And now they're trying to get people scheduled for interview as soon as possible after the person applies. And this schedule has been thrown off a little bit by COVID and some other things. But generally speaking, yeah, many people over the last couple of years have gotten their interview within about 2 or 3 months after applying. And that's what we were seeing with a lot of our clients over the last about year, was that in fact, most of them were getting their interview within 2 or 3 months. However, it has slowed a little bit in the last few months. And I'm pretty sure I know the reason, because I asked someone at the asylum office and they told me, and it makes sense, which is that the asylum offices are focusing right now on Afghans and more specifically, Afghans who were brought to the United States by like the U.S. government when the Taliban took back over of Afghanistan. Because there's like a rule that says that those cases need to be done, adjudicated by USCIS in a very short deadline. So they've been prioritizing those interviews, and that's been pushing back everyone else at least a little bit. So I do think that they're probably going to be done with those Afghan interviews relatively soon, hopefully in the next few months, and that I hope that then it will return to normal, where when you apply for asylum, you're probably going to get an interview within 2 or 3 months. That's the expectation. That's my hope. All right. Okay. So my friend Badru says, hi, Mr. Brian. Hello, Badru. How soon should one apply for a travel document after winning asylum? And is it safe to travel on it as well? Right away. There's no reason not to apply for it right away. Is it safe? Yes, it is. So Badru is talking about a travel document. And when you win asylum, whether that's granted by an asylum officer at USCIS or an immigration judge in immigration court, once you win asylum, you can apply for what's called a refugee travel document. And it's something that you apply for with USCIS, and you get it, and it looks like a passport, basically. And it serves as a passport. It's also kind of like a visa in the sense that it allows you to get back into the United States. It shows that you're an asylee and that you therefore have permission to come back into the United States. But Badru is asking, is it okay to apply for that right away after winning asylum? Sure. Yeah. There's no reason not to. It takes a long time to get. I don't remember the processing time right now off the top of my head, but I think last time I looked, it was something like, it was over a year. It was taking over a year for USCIS to actually grant that from the time that someone applied. So yeah, the sooner that you apply, the better after winning asylum. And the second question, or part of it, second question was, is it actually safe to travel on it? And I think what Badru means by this is, listen, anytime you leave the United States when you are not a U.S. citizen, there's a little bit of risk that you might not be allowed back in. Okay. But when you are an asylee, meaning you've been granted asylum, if you travel abroad with this refugee travel document, it's safe. You almost certainly will get let back in. The risk of being denied entry to the United States is so low that I really don't even worry about it for my clients. As long as you don't go back to your country, the country from which you got asylum. Okay. Even if you have the refugee travel document, if you go back to your country, and then you come back to the United States, you might not be let back in, or they may detain you and put you in expedited removal proceedings to try to take away your asylee status and deport you. So go ahead and get it. Go ahead and travel on it. Just don't go back to your country. All right. All right. This is an interesting one. Saeed, probably. Galeb says, sir, I'm Yemeni on a pending TPS. I came on an F1 visa. Is it easy to win asylum case, especially if I don't have personal harm, but I wasn't born in Yemen. I was born in Saudi, and I have no place to go. All right. A couple of different issues that you raise here in this hypothetical, or for you, very real situation. Thanks for the question, by the way. So first of all, let me start with the second part about the fact that he's saying, okay, he sounds like you're a citizen of Yemen, but you were born in Saudi Arabia. Does that matter? Well, you're still seeking asylum. The country that you need to win your asylum case with regard to is not Saudi Arabia, but rather Yemen. And it doesn't actually matter that you were born in and probably grew up in Saudi, as long as you don't have permanent residence in Saudi Arabia. If you got permanent residence, or the government offered you permanent residence, but you just didn't take it, that would be a challenge, in the sense that it would implicate what's called the firm resettlement bar. And that complicates things. It makes it harder to win asylum, right? But you probably didn't, right? These countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, they very rarely give permanent residence to anyone. In your case, I'm guessing you did not have permanent residence there. So the question just is, can you win asylum with respect to Yemen? And, if you haven't ever lived there, or at least you haven't spent much time there, and you've never been harmed there, it could be tough, but it's not necessarily impossible. So to go back to the first part of your question, you said, can I win asylum, especially if I don't have personal harm? It is still, it is still possible to win asylum even if you've never been harmed. It's also possible to win even if you've never been threatened. You just have to show in that case that you share some characteristics with other people who are being harmed, and that harm is very common. It's very bad, and it happens a lot. That persecution is widespread. Okay. Such that just being someone who fits that profile is enough to put you at serious risk of being persecuted on account of a protected ground. Remember, the protected grounds are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and something called membership in a particular social group. To give an example of where we often see this, where someone can qualify for asylum and they usually win these cases without ever being harmed or even threatened in their country, is like Iran. Iranians will often come to the United States to like study, like you, Saeed, on an F1 visa, and sometimes they will change religions. They'll convert to Christianity or Baha'i or Baha'ism or anything else. When they do that, they usually can win asylum. Usually, and that's just because there's a lot of information out there that shows that, listen, converting from Islam is enough to put any Iranian at serious risk of persecution back in their country. So, Saeed, it just depends in your case. Like, why is it that you're afraid, right? What is it that makes you think you could be harmed? And are there things we can point to that show that indeed, yes, back in Yemen, people like you, Saeed, are getting persecuted on a vast, grand scale, such that just being who you are and having this certain characteristic puts you at serious risk. Okay. So yeah, the answer is like, maybe, yeah, you might still be able to win, but you need to talk about this with an asylum lawyer to see whether, how realistic it is and how good of a chance you have. Okay. All right. Let's go to a question back from Bonnie, who says, Cora, who says, do you have an office in Maryland or New York? No, but it doesn't matter. We can help you in Maryland and New York and anywhere in between and around, because we do everything virtually. So our law firm is based in Texas, in Houston, Texas. But even for people that are in Texas, we do not do any meetings in person with them. We do everything with our clients virtually until the day of the court hearings, or in some cases, the asylum interviews. But all the case development and all the practice and everything is done virtually. It's done by video conference and telephone and sharing files online. So it doesn't matter, like, that you're in somewhere up Northeast and we're not. We help people all over the country. We have clients in Maryland, we have clients in New York, and we can help you there. Okay. So don't let that keep you from calling us to see if we might be able to help you. Okay. Let's see what Aaron says. Aaron Nair says, hey, Brian, would an EB1 application in the middle of an asylum case affect the asylum case in any negative way if the EB1 gets denied? No. No. There's like no risk. There's no problem with applying for EB1 or applying for any other status for which you might possibly be eligible. It will not negatively affect your asylum case. Okay. Right. Abrar says, or Indris says, what basic evidence is acceptable? So in other words, what evidence do you need to win your asylum case? Well, here's the good news. The good news is that you can actually win without any evidence at all. Okay. You can win asylum based just on your testimony, meaning what you say on the day of your asylum interview or your immigration court hearings. As long as your testimony is detailed, consistent, and plausible. Those are the three things that the officer or the judge has to sort of mark the box for, to say, okay, this person's testimony was detailed, consistent, and plausible, therefore it's credible, therefore it's enough. Even without evidence, it can be enough to win asylum. I would say that in the immigration court, it's a little more strict. Judges usually do want to see evidence. In the asylum office, it's not uncommon at all to win a case with zero evidence, with zero documentary evidence. Okay. But in terms of what basic evidence is acceptable, well, I mean, if you have or let's say, what should you try to get? Well, with our clients, after we assess their case and we really get to understand it, we make a list of the exact evidence that we think our clients should try to get in support of their case. But just generally speaking, it's going to be anything that supports your case, anything that helps back up what you are saying has happened to you or what it is that puts you at risk. And so, if you have instances of physical harm in the past, if you've been harmed or threatened, if there's some documents that show that, then that would be helpful. Like, if you were beaten up and you have photographs of yourself after the attack, of you being bruised or showing injuries, that could be helpful. If you went to the hospital to treat your injuries and you have records from that hospital visit, that could be helpful. If there were witnesses to an incident and they can write a letter for you talking about it, that could be helpful. So it's things like that. But, if you hire an asylum lawyer, they should give you detailed guidance about, in your particular case, what items you should try to get as evidence. Okay. Yeah. So Ahmed says the problem is the uncertainty of when one will get his or her interview scheduled. Yeah. I got to say, I feel for you. I feel for my clients and for people out there who are living with this uncertainty about what's going to happen in their case, and also the uncertainty of not even knowing when they're going to get their asylum interview. That's got to be really tough. So I'm sorry, Ahmed, if you're in that position, I'm sorry to hear that. Here's the thing. If you've been waiting more than 3 years for your asylum interview with USCIS, you should sue the government. Okay. You should sue the government. The government has a duty to act in a reasonable period of time with regard to any immigration application. And if they don't do that, you can sue them, which means you would be asking a federal judge in federal court to tell the asylum office that they have to give you your interview. Okay. Unfortunately, the federal judge cannot make a decision on your application. But if they think that the government is not acting in a reasonable time, then they can tell the asylum office, you have to give Ahmed his interview within 60 days. So what happens is, if you've been waiting more than 3 years, there's a pretty good chance that if you file a lawsuit, the government, USCIS, will say, oh, we don't really want to fight this case out to the end. We don't want to deal with this. Ahmed, if you promise to take away the case, to withdraw the case or dismiss it in court, then we'll give you your interview in the next 60 days. And you can often get them to give you a promise as well that they'll give you the decision in your asylum case within a certain amount of days after the interview, like 60 days. And this is important because often, people will wait years for their asylum interview, and they'll do the interview, and they'll have to wait months more or even years to get the decision. But if you sue the government, you may be able to get them to promise to give you the interview in a certain amount of days. Usually it's like within 60 days. And then the decision within like 60 days after the interview. So that's a major benefit of suing. And, Ahmed, when I talk about suing the government, completely understandably, I always get asked, well, is that going to hurt my case? Is it going to make me look bad? Or make the government want to punish me and deny my asylum case because I am, had the audacity to sue them? No. The answer is no. It's just, there's two things really. One, the asylum officer who ends up interviewing you and makes a decision on your asylum case probably will not know that you have even sued the government. Even if they do know, though, I just don't think it matters. Okay. It's just not a big deal. In the United States, we are very litigious, and that's just a fancy word to mean we sue a lot. Okay. For us, bringing a lawsuit and suing it's just no big deal. Okay. So I don't think it will hurt your case at all. So consider suing the government. We do that for people. Okay. If you want to sue the government, because you've been waiting for too long for your asylum interview, then you should give us a call. We should talk about that and about how we can strengthen your case as well. Because as I said earlier, there's still a lot that we can do to strengthen your case. Okay. So give us a call. Our number is 713-909-0401. Okay. 713-909-0401. All right. Rustam says, hello, Brian. Rustam, are you Uzbek? That sounds like an Uzbek name to me. I spent a couple months in Tashkent, Uzbekistan once. So before I was an asylum lawyer, I was an asylum officer with the government, right? But before that, I was a diplomat. And before that, I did an internship with our foreign ministry, our Department of State, in Uzbekistan, Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Lovely country in many ways, not without its problems, as you probably know, Rustam, but lovely people there. Lovely people. Okay. Okay. So on Awudu Antaru clarified the question from earlier. Now they say, can someone on parole get married without seeking asylum? Yeah, you don't have to seek asylum to get married or to get. I assume you're talking about trying to get a green card, get permanent residence through marriage. Yeah, you don't have to seek asylum to do that, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Ali says, "Hey, sir, how's the asylum acceptance rate for citizens of Turkmenistan?" Um, I don't know off the top of my head. Probably it's the approval rate for Turkmenistan is probably pretty high, based on what I know about that government from mainly from my time as a diplomat. I was exposed to some of the issues, so I know that the kinds of cases that can come out of there can be good cases. So it's probably pretty high. But listen, the fact that approval rates for your country, for example, may be very high doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win, okay? Because it's still your case is analyzed on a case by case basis. The officer doesn't just go, "Oh, that country, they do a lot of persecution, they have poor human rights, therefore you get asylum." No, they have to be convinced that you are at risk, okay? They're gonna analyze your specific facts of your case in making their decision, okay? So the reverse is also true. Just because a country has a low approval rate doesn't mean it's impossible to win. Even countries from like Europe, from Northern Europe, where these countries rank much higher on democracy indexes and overall quality of life and happiness and all that than the United States, like up in Scandinavia, where human rights are really well regarded and protected. You can actually still win asylum even from some of those countries. And it does happen every once in a while because it comes down to the individual circumstances. And so it's not impossible. All right. So the point is, what matters is your particular case. And to get a better understanding of what your chances are based on your case, you need to talk to an asylum lawyer about that. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Let me just follow up with Rustam, who said, "Do you have experience with asylum seekers from Turkmenistan?" Even lawyers act like they've never heard about that country. Yeah, I do. I have, I guess, just one client right now from Turkmenistan, and as I was saying earlier, I spent a couple months with the U.S. government in Central Asia, in Tashkent, and same part of the world. So I've learned a little bit about Turkmenistan. I remember hearing all about Turkmenbashi. I know he's no longer in power, but I remember hearing some interesting stories about the golden statues and whatnot. So yeah, I know a little bit about Turkmenistan. I know where it is. Yeah, we'd be happy to help you if you need help, Rustam. Just give us a call and set up a time to talk with me or one of our other asylum lawyers about your case. Our number is 713-909-0401. Okay. No, this is interesting. Zaslani Kazachok says, officers deny applications so attorneys will have a job to protect you in court. No. I was an asylum officer, so I know that this is not true. I assure you, asylum officers are not thinking, I'm going to deny someone to give attorneys work to do in court. No. Let's see. A couple more questions, all right? All right. So Renvik says, if I'm waiting for my first asylum court hearing, but I marry a citizen, I assume U.S. citizen, what happens in that case? Well, that U.S. citizen can apply for you to get a green card through them. But you're still in immigration court, and you have two different options. You can do that application in immigration court, and you can ask the judge to make a decision on that application, on that green card application. But you have to convince them, you have to show the judge that you're really married for real reason, for reasons of love, and not just so that you can get a green card. And that can be kind of hard. Or you may be able to get your case dismissed. Right now, at the moment I'm making this video, the policy of ICE, the agency that does that's trying to deport you, their policy right now is, in certain cases, generally speaking, including cases where the person has some kind of route, some kind of availability to possibly get permanent status, such as if they're married to a U.S. citizen and that U.S. citizen is applying for them, ICE may agree to drop the case against you, to dismiss it. In which case, if the judge says, okay, sounds good, then that would end your case in immigration court, and you would need to file the green card application with USCIS. Okay, so that's how that works. All right. Yeah, do you work with cases from Russia? Yes. Раньше говорил по-русски. К сожалению, сейчас нет. So I used to speak Russian. I studied abroad in Russia 3 times throughout undergraduate and university. And I minored in Russian in college. So I used to speak some Russian, but I've forgotten it. I learned other languages after that, and I cannot have more than one foreign language on my mind at a time. I know many of you watching right now, you can just switch between different languages, several different foreign languages. I can't do that. I can only have one foreign language on my mind at a time. And right now, that's Spanish. That's all. That's the only one I can muster right now. Okay. Okay, this is an interesting question. Sweet Lady says, hey, Brian, I already sent by mail my EAD, meaning work permit, renewal, and they sent me the receipt that my renewal application has been received and it is in process. Now that they've started filing, can I file the application again? Oh, now they started online filing. Now that that's a thing, a possibility. Can I file the application again? No, you should not do that because you already have an application pending. It'll get rejected. If you apply again, if you apply online, I'm pretty certain that you're going to get a letter that says you already have an application in progress. Therefore, we are disregarding this new application. Okay. I don't think it's going to help you get it faster. I would not apply online. Okay. Okay. Pretty Happy says, what would happen for students if they are denied asylum? Well, if you still have your student status at the time that the negative decision is made in your asylum case, what happens is, and this goes for anyone who still has valid status, whether it's still your tourist status or H-1B, business-based, employment-based status, whatever, including students. At the time USCIS makes the negative decision, they say, no, you're not eligible for asylum. They look at your status. And if you still have your student status, they don't send your case to immigration court. They don't try to deport you. Instead, they just say, oh, we intend to deny you. They send you this letter called a notice of intent to deny. Notice of intent to deny. And it says, we intend to deny you for the following reasons. And they kind of explain in a little bit of detail their reasons for thinking that you're not eligible. And the letter says, you have 16 days to respond in writing to try to change our minds, basically to try to convince them that you should get asylum, that they were wrong in thinking you're not eligible. So you can do this. It very rarely works. We had success with this recently, but it's tough. It rarely works. Okay. And so when you respond, they'll consider your response. And if they say, no, you didn't convince us, or if you just don't respond at all in those 16 days, then they'll look at your status again at that moment. And if you still have your student status or any other status, they will say, case denied, asylum denied. And what they're saying is you do not get asylum. Your asylum case is over. It's closed. It's denied. However, they do not put you in deportation proceedings. They do not send your case to immigration court and try to deport you. It's just the end of your asylum case. and you still have your student status. It doesn't take away your student status or anything like that. You can just keep on your current status until it ends, just like normal, as if you were never an immigration, never applied for asylum to begin with. All right. All right. So listen, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Engineer Hanemo says, let's cooperate. Give us a call. Call us, all right? 713-909-0401. All right, that's it for today, but I'm going to be back on live regularly from here on out. Going forward, you can expect to see me a lot on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok Live. So find me, say hello, and listen, if you want to talk about your asylum case, give us a call. We have people from all different countries, no matter where you are in the United States, no matter what status where you are in your case, in your asylum journey, we may be able to help you. I would love to talk with you about it and tell you whether I think we can help you. Okay. So call us 713-909-0401 to schedule an asylum strategy session. Take care. And as always, it is truly an honor and pleasure for me to serve you in your asylum journey. I'm Brian, and thanks for being with us. Thank you. Bye. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.